2.6 notes. We're going back and forth converting between radical and rational forms. Okay, so we're writing expressions with rational exponents into radical form and vice versa. So remember that I'm going to use an example here, like 5 to the 1/2. Okay, the n is your index. Okay, so first we have a radical. The denominator is our index, and then we just take a to the n. And with our other example, we have our radical. We have 5 to the 1 and a little 2 there. So 5 to the 1/2 is the same as the square root of 2. Now, to the negative 1/2, I'm going to also show 5 to the negative, whoops, word not being friendly, to the negative 1/2. Well, that just means 1 over a, try this again, m n. And with our example of 5, it'd be, 1 over square root of 5 to the 1/2. Okay, so remember, when you have a negative exponent, it just moves it down to the bottom, to the denominator. Okay, rewrite the expression using rational notation. So remember, this is our denominator, so we're just going to say 7 to the 2/4, which really is the same thing as to the 1/2. Okay, and here we have 5 to the 7/4. So remember, this is a 2, so this is going to become 3x, the whole thing to the 5/2. Let me fix that. 5 looked a little bad. 5/2. I don't know why it keeps making an S. 5/2. But you've got to remember to put that whole 3x in parentheses. All right. Now, let's forget about the 7 right now. Just look at this. That would be y to the 2/3. Well, the 7 is just being multiplied by the radical, so the 7 becomes the coefficient of that y to the 2/3. Okay, now going the other way. We know we're going to have a radical. 5 is going underneath the radical. Remember, this is our denominator, so the 3 goes here and the 2 goes here. Again, we have a negative this time, so we know we're going to have 1 over square root 3, right like that. Now, remember, this entire, being that the 2y is in parentheses, the entire thing is under the radical. So look at the difference between these two. Okay? The 7 was not underneath, so that's why it's not 7y to the 2/3. The 2/3 only goes with the y. Whereas here, the entire thing is being raised to the 1/2, so the entire thing goes underneath the radical. Now, this -8, forget about that negative. That does not mean we're flipping it. The negative is with the 8. Do the z separately. Z to the 3/4. Right? And then just -8 on the outside. Now, if this -8z was in parentheses, then the -8 would have gone underneath the radical, but again, has nothing to do with flipping it because it is not a negative exponent. Okay, Simplify without using a calculator. The cube root of 8. What times itself is 8? Well, what times itself 3 times? And that's 2. But it says check the calculator. So you take your handy dandy calculator and you go to the math key. Well, it goes out. You go to the math key, you go down to the cube root, and you hit 8. There it is, 2. How about that? Okay, 81 to the, looks like 1/4, but not, it's the 3/4. But let's go to the 1/4. What times itself, 4 times gives you 81. Well, I'm thinking 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27, times 3 is 81. So the 4th root is 3. Well, I want the 3/4 root, so I want 3 of those. So I am going to guess 27. Let's see what the calculator says. I'm going to take 81 to the power of 3 divided by 4. 27. Now, 81 to the negative 3/2. That just means whatever my answer is going to go on the bottom in the denominator. So, again, let's think about what we're going to do here. And if I think about what is the 1/2 of 81, that's 9. So the 2/2, if I square that, would be 81. And 3/2 would be 81 times 3, which is 729. And if I do this in the calculator, first off, let's just see what 81 to the 3/2 is. Boom. And you just put it in the bottom. Now here's the thing. Watch this. If I do 81 to the power of negative 3 divided by 2, it's going to give me a decimal. So if we go to math and say, let's turn this into a fraction, 1 over 729. Okay? Another way to think about this is 81 to the 1/2 to the negative 3. So if I just find out what the square root of 81 is, then I just cube it and put it on the bottom. Kind of an easy way to think about it. Okay? And then 2/10 to the 1/2. This one's a little trickier, but if you think about 2/10 to make our life easier, that's really just 1/5 to the 1/2. And I'm just going to do, I'm doing this in my head, but what would that be if I was taking the square root? That would be the square root of 1, which is just 1, so why bother writing that? So the square root of 1 is 1 over the square root of 5. And if I rationalize that, I would just get the square root of 5 over 5. There you go. That's it.